I started out making guitars as a result of wanting a guitar for myself, which I couldn't buy. And I'd had a background in woodworking. My father was quite a good amateur woodworking. And then I made a couple of guitars, and then Jim Williams and Robin Moyes employed me to help them at Guitar Factory in Sydney doing guitar repairs. That was a very good introduction to guitar making and the music sort of business in general. The main tone wood that should concern you as a guitar maker is the top. The back and sides have a very much a more minor impact on the sound of the guitar and the quality of the guitar. But what I look for in a top is the duration of ring of the top. So when you tap the top, you want the top to not just go donk, you want it to sort of have sustain. The other thing is the stiffness of the top across the grain and along the grain, and then the mass of the top. And building guitars, for me, is about building something that's loud and dynamic. And if you pick woods that are light, have very low damping and great stiffness to weight ratio, then you're a long way to having the nuts and bolts of making the guitar. I'm very much performance driven, so I want guitars that work. And as I've got more and more into making guitars, the level of decoration that I use is minimal, and I'm putting all the energy into producing guitars that I would describe as musical tools. So they're guitars that musicians want to play and have responsiveness and evenness and all the rest of the desirable sort of qualities. There's a lot of interest in country music again. A lot of American sort of country music's become very popular again. So the Dreadnoughts and the J45s. The J45s seem to have made a real resurgence. I think the other thing that's become very, very prominent is the plugged-in guitar with that Takamine type pickup in it. The overall sound characteristic of that pickup is one that cuts through a lot of things. What you're really getting with those sort of pickup systems is not so much the guitar, it's the pickup. And I mean, I'm much more inclined to make things that work without a pickup. I really like working with the musician. It's like being a bespoke tailor. So, you know, you're trying to fit the guitar to the person. And I think I'm pretty good at doing that. And they last. Like in the last few years, I've had some guitars I made 30 years ago come back in for a refret. And that's about all they've needed. And people come in sometimes with my guitars and they kind of apologise and say, oh, you know, I'm really sorry I've scratched it up or I've done this and done that. And my response to that is always, I make guitars to be played. I don't make them to be looked at or collected. I make them to be used because they're musical tools. But I think I have a reputation for making things that worked really well and didn't have a lot of problems. The book took Trevor and I about 5 years to write. I'd written some things about making guitars, but when it came to the acoustics of the guitar and how the guitar actually functioned, I just realised that you're talking science and I'm not a scientist or much of a mathematician. And that's where Trevor's great strength is. So the book contains a lot of very complicated mathematics and a lot of very good practical knowledge, and it's sold all over the world. So I'm really, really happy with that. What's coming up next with Artist Guitars, I hope, is the acoustic electric guitar, a version of that with a cutaway, and the cutaway is an entirely different way of producing the cutaway in the guitar. I'd like to make a guitar that's a bit more responsive than some of the other guitars that you plug in. And eventually I hope we can come up with an alternative pickup design. The other thing maybe we'd get into utilising some of the bracing concepts in the book on another guitar, but that gets you into a much more complex level of sort of construction, and it's not a norm, and it's not something that a lot of guitar factories would be comfortable trying to do. So they're the sort of things I would like to be involved with them. And it has been a very good relationship with Artist Guitars and myself. Probably out of all the people I've worked with over the last 30 or 40 years, Artist Guitars have been the best people to work with, the most responsive, the people who made sure that the design got done. And, we didn't have any problems with materials or implementation of design. So yeah, it's been good. I've enjoyed it.